You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, 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 don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. You got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up.
Hello and welcome back to Prodigal Son Crypto. Bitcoin's done it. It's broken out, brand new all-time highs, and we're currently around 118k, and it looks like it's on. So here we are. We're going to get into the chart straight away. So Bitcoin currently at 117k, touching 118k regularly. It's broken out of this decision zone that I was highlighting for a while here. And it's going to head into price discovery. Yeah, so we looked at it, we saw that it was, you know, breaking out of this trend line here, and then it retested, it moved up, and now it's in this decision zone. Yeah, so let's take it down onto the daily, okay, and let's see where we're going, because now we are in price discovery. Yes, we are. We're in price discovery. Okay, so we're going to do a little fib extension on there. Okay, so drag it from the bottom to the local high, then back down. Okay, then we can project where we're going from there. Okay, so yeah, the 1618 is at 130k. The 2618 is at 165k. Okay, a little while to go to get there. So let's do an extension on the more recent pattern. Okay, so grab another one of them, grab it from this low to this high, back to this low. Okay, so in the near term, we could be looking at aiming for around 120k. Okay, and then beyond that, 134, 148. So looks really good. You never know what's going to happen when you're in price discovery, but that looks like a clean breakout. I would not be calling fake outs or anything with this move at the moment. This is cyclically, the timing is right, and we've built up and we've got such good, strong fundamentals to see that carry through. Let's have a look at the M2 on there. Okay, zoom it in a little bit. Okay, let's grab that M. Okay, something like that. Yeah, okay. So we could see we could be going up to this high as in around September. Okay, so like I say, you can't watch this for patterns, but we're following the trend up. As you can see, from September, there is a bit of a breakdown on M2. So we'll have to watch out for that and track that as we go. The liquidations on Bitcoin or in crypto have exceeded a total of 1.26 billion in the last 24 hours. Okay, 1.1 billion of shorts. That's what we like to see. We love to see the shorts getting wrecked. Okay, so that's great news. What we've got coming up over the next couple of weeks. Okay, so next week we have got CPI numbers coming out, PPI. Okay, unemployment claims. Okay, so these are things that could be impacting Bitcoin and the stock market over the next couple of weeks. Then we've got towards the end of the month, we have got the FOMC meeting and the statement. So we will find out about the federal funds rate. So they're dates to put in your diary for the next couple of weeks as we go towards the end of July. Bitcoin is following the cycle pretty clearly now. Okay, so and if you look, these cycles previously ended around the 1,100 days mark. Okay, we are currently 975 days. Okay, so we've got it going by previous cycles. We've got roughly to the end of the year. And let's see what we can do there. Another few months maybe. So I mean, I would say with Bitcoin dominance, if it does start breaking down and we get the altcoins running, then we could be seeing around 4 to 5 months of upside from there. So let's see how we go. Hear all these people talking about going into Q1, Q2 of next year. What you always get in a bull market, you get people extending their targets, extending their price predictions, extending their time of the cycle. I remember from 2021, people were talking about super cycle, which never happened. So don't get too caught up with all of that. Bitcoin historical risk levels. Okay, so it's creeping back up again, but we've still got plenty of room to run. Look at some of these highs from previous cycles. Okay, nowhere near them. And I would say that we are, this was a mid-cycle top, similar to this was. And here we are with this chart from Chiefy. Okay, so showing this is probably like what many of us call the banana phase. Yeah. Okay, it could be. This looks like where we are now. Okay, ready to have a big run up. Look, obviously in each cycle they get less extreme, less volatile. You see that wick on that first 2013 cycle. And then, I see that we could be going parabolic here. The charts say that we could be going parabolic here. But how explosive it will be, who knows? I mean, to push this up to 300k would take a lot of market cap. But then again, you've got a lot of institutions and potentially nation states getting involved now. So the amount of capital flowing in is unreal, and I'm going to touch more on that in a little bit later in the video. Okay, the pull multiple phases. Okay, so CryptoCon here says it's not over until it's over. This has been the longest time period between phases 3 and 4. Here we are, 3, 4. So 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. Okay, so it's been the longest time spent over here. Okay, but the bullish part of it, what he's trying to say here is there hasn't been a phase 4 yet. So we are going into phase 4 probably now, and the phases overall could not look more on track. The fear and greed index at the moment is sitting at 71. We are only in greed. We are not even in extreme greed yet. If you look at, we haven't got a lot of historical data here on the fear and greed, but this was a lot of extreme greed for a long time. We have had spells of extreme greed, obviously, and broken back down into fear, but we have reset it, and we are only in greed. Okay, so this can go a lot higher. So 71 is greed. Okay, when you look at some of these readings up here, where are they? 91, 95. That's the type of levels of extreme greed we could get to, and it can stay in that for a number of times. This is very zoomed out on this chart here. It can go on for weeks, even months. Okay, Bitcoin dominance looks like it's breaking down. Okay, so it has been doing so since it hit 66%. Okay, and what I would say is now on the daily, it has dropped below the 50-day moving average. The 5 and 13 EMAs are crossing over bearish. It's coming down towards this trend line. If I zoom out a little bit, you can see this one, okay, which goes back from January 2025. So this is roughly a 6-month trend line, okay, and it's coming down to it. So what will happen when it gets to there at 64%? Will we get a little bounce for a while in dominance before breaking down further? But as you've seen, the altcoins have been doing fantastically well in the past couple of days after a long period of being beaten up badly, and they're starting to make their recoveries. So fingers crossed, we can start to see this come down, break this line, break down below this 200-day EMA, and then we can start seeing dominance really collapsing. Okay, but we're going to watch that as we go. The altcoin index, okay, so the altcoin season index, sorry. So we're breaking now above the Bitcoin season line, okay. So and where it's done that before previously, it's held around it, retested like over here before it made the expansion. Here it chopped about and then went up. But I just got a feeling that this could start moving up very quickly here, okay, very quickly over the space of, like I say, if you've got an alt season lasting maybe 4 or 5 months, at max 5 months, I'd say more like 3 to 4 months maybe, you could start seeing this moving up here, you know, by sort of Q4 very quickly. And then people sometimes say that you won't get an alt season or you won't see ETH bottom against Bitcoin until you see quantitative easing. Well, this is the Fed's balance sheet, okay? So when it's going down, the Fed are tightening its balance sheet, and then when you see it going up, they're increasing their balance sheet. They've been decreasing it for a long time, but you started to see the slowdown, okay? Hopefully you might start to see this flattening out. But one thing I've always indicated on this is this turns around very, very quickly. So where will it turn around? Who knows? But another thing to add, okay, this was the 2017 cycle here. You see there was no increase of the Fed's balance sheet. They was keeping it very flat to tightening it the whole time. And look, Bitcoin was doing fantastic back then, and so were altcoins. And speaking of altcoins, I'd like to bring your attention to this. Okay, so this is the path of alt season. I've shown this before. Okay, I believe this is what retail investors were doing in 2021, 2017. Okay, I believe this is what institutional investors are doing in 2025. Okay, as you saw, it was all about the Bitcoin ETF. It was all Bitcoin accumulation, Bitcoin treasury strategies, all of that type of stuff. Yes, we was hearing positive news about Ethereum and altcoins in the background, but you wasn't seeing the attention from the institutions or the media channels and everything like that. We are starting to see the attention go towards Ethereum now. Okay, we've seen the Ethereum ETF. We've started to see people talk about, like Tom Lee with Fundstrat, talking about accumulating Ethereum. Okay, I believe that's all going to happen. Then I believe you're going to get the altcoin ETFs. You're going to get ETFs for Solana, XRP, and a few others. And I believe like things like Cardano gets it. I believe SUI gets it. And a number of others, and then you'll see that institutional interest in those as well. And before you know it, you're going to be in a full-blown alt season. And how are altcoins doing? Okay, so total free. Okay, we was watching it falling down this, and it couldn't take a break. Okay, it broke out a couple of weeks ago, sorry, about a week or so ago, and then it retested and it started to move up, taking a little pullback on here. This is total free versus BTC, by the way. Taking a little pullback here over the last couple of days, but hopefully we can start to see a bounce. I'd love to see it get above that 50-day EMA. And others, BTC, we have got this trend line here we've been watching. It didn't manage to come back down. Now it's breaking out. It's broken trend here. You know, we want to see it start getting above this 270 billion mark, okay, and then targeting 300 billion. And then we could start moving up towards the top of this channel. This channel, it looks like it's been great since back here in December. So yeah, it's touched the top a couple of times. I believe, and if you look at where the top is for this channel now, if you see where it's sitting, okay, it's sitting above the all-time high. Okay, so if it can, even if it gets up to that there, you're talking about all-time high prices for altcoins. And if it breaks out, you know, I've got another one up here. This can go to, you know, a few trillion. Okay, you know, it's a lot to think about, but it is doable. It is doable. Okay, we've got ETH USD. Okay, ETH's been performing fantastically. ETH is back at 3K. Yes, here we go. Okay, so if it can break this 3K level around 3,000, and let's zoom it in a little bit more to be a bit more precise, and it has literally tapped that level that I had marked off there. That's excellent. $3,040. If it can start getting above there, then I think it won't be long before we're sort of heading up towards 4,000. We have got some support and resistance levels here around this sort of 3,300 mark. So we could see some really strong moves here from Ethereum. Okay. And here we have Solana here. And Solana looks like it's broken my level there at 159. I think the next level to overcome will be this 180 level. And if you look at the EMAs here on a daily, okay, so it's starting to tick up bullish here. It got above the 50, it's above the 200, 5 and 13 heading up. This could be quite a nice bullish move here for Solana. And then SUI doing something similar. You know, it's here now breaking this 350 level. And next level we're talking about is $4. Yeah, around $4. If you can break $4, soon up to $5, and then you are literally going to be in price discovery of all-time highs for SUI. Cardano's doing well. It's broken above the 200 EMA now on the daily. These other EMAs should start twisting and turning up. And then the level really we want to look at really for ADA is around this 86 cent level. I think we could soon get up to this 78 cents. Look, we're not going to hit some of these levels immediately. Sometimes this can take days to weeks to play out. But what we are seeing is a bullish move here. We're seeing resistance levels being taken out. You know, it might need to come back down and find some support to build a higher low, and then we could be good and off to the races. The DXY was breaking down quite a lot, and now it's fell down below this trend line, which goes back to 2011. Yeah, okay, so that was the last bottom or the start of a new 18.6-year cycle back then. Okay, and here we are now. We have actually broken that trend line down, and it's trying to get back above it. It's trying to get above the level here at 97.8. Okay, you can see it's wicking little wicks there. It looks like it could be getting rejected at this level and rejected at this trend line. That would be great to see, because where could we go down to? We'd then be looking at it coming down to, obviously it'd have to break the low here at 96 again, but then we could be coming down to 92, and then yeah, that'd be great. I mean, in this level I've marked off before previously on another chart around 88, and you can see this 88, 89 level. It was here in 2018. It was here in 2021. You know, we could get there again for this cycle. And looking at the USDT dominance, and it is breaking down with a big bearish weekly candle there. It's come right down actually to that level there at 4.37, and start seeing it break there. I want to see it break down this 4.2, 4.3 basically. You want to see it break down below 4.3. Then we're targeting this 3.75 level, and then that would be very, very bullish for altcoins and the whole crypto market if that can happen. But this is good to see that breaking down like that. Okay, so in other news, okay, so there's a lot going on in crypto at the moment, and like I said, the institutions are looking at Ethereum. And here we go. Leo Lanza says Fidelity just dropped a report that changes everything. They say ETH isn't a tech stock; it's a digital economy with its own GDP, monetary policy, and asset demand. And here's what they reveal. So I'm going to just go through a few of these things quickly. So the native currency ETH, GDP transaction volume, taxes are basically gas fees, treasury are protocol rewards, monetary policy is programmed in code, ETH is money for a digital nation. ETH isn't optional, it's required. Every transaction, smart contract, or product on Ethereum must pay fees in ETH. this creates a structural, unavoidable demand, and not for speculation, for survival. ETH equals economic oxygen. Okay, Ethereum's GDP is exploding. Fidelity tracks it like a real economy. Consumption, gas fees. We get the message here that they're getting very bullish. Fidelity are getting bullish on ETH. Okay, and that's a great thing to hear. I'm hearing a lot of institutions are using ETH. So even JP Morgan, and I'll get to that in a bit. Okay, so this is bullish for Solana here. So bit mining to convert holdings to SOL and raise up to 300 million for a Solana focused strategy. So as we started seeing with Tom Lee's fund strat and Bitmine and that talking about the Ethereum strategy, because they're all copying Michael Saylor's micro strategy for Bitcoin. We've got so many people doing those treasury reserves but for accumulating Bitcoin, and we're now seeing it on Ethereum. We are now going to start seeing this on altcoins such as Solana. Obviously, in smaller scale, with Bitcoin, you're talking in the billions. With Ethereum, you're talking in the hundreds of millions. And you will start to see smaller numbers of hundreds of millions for other things such as Solana and other blockchains. Okay, great news for KuCoin. They've passed their proof of reserves audit. So that's really good news for KuCoin. It's great to see because some of these exchanges, Coinbase included, Binance, they all had it very hard from Mr. Evil Gary Gensler when he was in reign of control of the SEC. And now we've got this positive crypto narrative. We're starting to see that, these companies, these exchanges, they are compliant, but they was made to look like they wasn't. And, we saw the video of Gary Gensler talking about hucksters, fraudsters, scam artists and all of that. And he was wrong. And this is an industry that needs to grow and be given the wings to do so. Justin publicly traded SEC1 buys 370 BTC. They plan to buy over 3,000 BTC, okay? And these companies, they don't care where they're buying Bitcoin, honestly. And this, I think, is going to drive this final part of the mania phase because they just do not care that it's at all-time highs or in price discovery. They're just going to just keep accumulating it because they've got a long-term vision. And that's the sort of vision that most of you should have. But if you're like me, I also want to trade. So I've got a long-term vision with Bitcoin. I love it, and I definitely want to hold it forever, and accumulate for my family, for my children, and everything. But I can see that the gains for me are going to be made in the altcoins, and that's why I spend so much time studying blockchains, technical analysis, cycle analysis, because I want to get it right with the altcoins so I can buy more Bitcoin. And Bitwise reports corporate BTC holdings have surged to 847,000 Bitcoin, worth 91 billion in Q2. They are accumulating like nobody's business. Okay, another one. Publicly traded K-Wave Media secures 1 billion capital to, capacity to buy more Bitcoin. Nothing stops this train. And indeed, this is why I'm showing you this, because there's so many big institutions, just like BlackRock and Michael Saylor's strategy, now hold a combined 1,297,325 Bitcoin worth $140.8 billion. That's roughly 6.18% of the total supply. When you hear people talking about Michael Saylor's strategy, Larry Fink's BlackRock, they're just trying to accumulate it so they can dump on everyone. They're going to get all of the supply, and then they're not going to get all of the supply. You've seen how much they've been spending. It's record levels. And the two of them are only 6.6% of the supply. Even if they were in cahoots together, which they're not, they're not going to do this. They've got a long-term strategy. So do not be fearful of this big smart money accumulating in large volumes, because they've got their long-term strategies and their plans, and they are influencing many other institutional investors. Okay. Justin Tether minted 1 billion USDT on Tron, and I've been seeing a lot of this lately. USDC, USDT have been minting billions in stablecoins. What do you think is going to happen with those stablecoins? a lot of them, they're in the crypto ecosystem. They're not printing those dollars in stable coins for it to come out of the blockchain economy. Okay, these stable coins are going to be on Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, SUI, or many others, all the other blockchains that you can think of. These stablecoins are going to be flowing. They're going to be being used in DeFi, used in trading, used in buying RWAs and so many other things. Staking, like even staking these cryptos on those chains is bullish for those chains. It gives TVL, it gives staking volume, it gives stablecoin volume. It boosts their numbers. It boosts their fundamental numbers to make this then look very strong, and which they will, and which they are. Something else I want to talk about, okay? Now the institutions are heavily into crypto. I'm seeing a lot of this narrative being spoken about online. I'm seeing a lot of advertisements for it. People are advertising you to don't sell your Bitcoin, instead borrow against it, okay? Now, although I think it can be great that you don't have to sell your Bitcoin, you can borrow it for things that you really need. But one thing I want to make you all aware of is liquidations. Okay. Now a lot of people think, I'll just, borrow against my Bitcoin. I'll buy a load of altcoins and everything will be fine. But what you get is you get a volatile moment in the market. Okay. Where things could just pull back 30%. Okay. And some of your altcoins more so. And then you could get liquidated on that position, and then you lose your Bitcoin. And who gets it? The institutions, these big lending protocols, they get your Bitcoin. Okay, so do not fall for it too much. And if you do decide to do something like this, make sure you're not too over leveraged on that position. Make sure you've got enough margin. Okay, you do not want to be getting margin called. It's very uncomfortable, especially when you don't have the money to put it back in and cover your position. And it's very stressful. And I advise against it if you don't need to. Okay, but if you really need to, say if you've been in crypto for a long time and you had a lot of money in there and you needed to put a deposit down on a house or something, great. But do not do it with like the majority of your position, because they will liquidate you. Potentially, if you're doing it for something like that, you're not planning to put that back anytime soon. We're now, like I said, we could be months away from the end of the cycle, and you're not going to be paying that money back in within months. So be really, really careful. You cannot trust some of these institutions, okay? And here's one that you definitely can't trust.
Crypto.
If you mean crypto like Bitcoin, I've always said it's a fraud.
No hope for it.
Well, if they think they're a currency, there's no hope for it. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a public, decentralized Ponzi.
Do not trust these people. We saw the videos of Larry Fink, when he was saying that, he would never offer Bitcoin to his clients. Clients were not interested in it. And then we see the same thing from JP Morgan. He Jamie Dimon. He's always fudded crypto, talked negatively about it. And then, here we go. Look, JP Morgan moves further into crypto with stablecoin like token JPMD. Okay. And it says here, JP Morgan Chase is taking a further step into the cryptocurrency space with its own stablecoin like token called JPMD. So this is plan to launch a so-called deposit token on Coinbase's public blockchain base, okay, which is built on top of the Ethereum network. Okay, so just a pointer to just listen. Don't trust the institutions. Don't give them your crypto. Don't let them have a chance to take it from you. And don't let them fudge you out their bags. We've had so much negative news over the past year. So many reasons, and I'd like to touch on a few things as well. Like, people were saying we was going to get the left translated cycle. That didn't happen. Everyone was saying it was just going to be a lower high. Bitcoin's never going to break the all-time high again. The cycle is over. Everyone kept saying altcoins are dead. They're not coming back. We're already starting to see the recovery, okay? These early stages of this final stage of the bull run. We may have 3, 4, 5 months left of the cycle. Maybe it goes into Q1, Q2. But what I'd suggest is towards the end of the year, heavily look at taking heavy profits, okay? Just to make sure you've got your lifestyle chips, you've got money to reinvest, and everything like that. Fair enough if you want to hold on to some of your, you know, most loved bags like your Solana, your SUI, and everything like that. But and I'll be holding some as well. I'm not selling everything. I'm going to take profits in stages, but I know cycle timing. There's end Q4 is normally the top for these 4-year cycles. So I will be taking profits heavily there. But if you've loved everything on this show, please give me a like, subscribe, and comment below with any of your questions. And I'll see you on the next video.